So we just go with it.
And hello everyone, we are back after a very short break on our end, hopefully not a short break on the upload end. I don't know.
No, we're pretty much going to try to keep this ship sailing smoothly.
Absolutely. We've got lots in the buffer so that we can actually get on with our lives without interrupting the flow of the show. And we got a great way to start this one off, the very fun topic.
This, we're very excited about this one. This is our top 10.
Absolutely.
Now, in order to keep things from getting too crazy, we decided we weren't going to take each individual part of the top 10 and make a top 10 out of all of those, because that would just be like way too many top 10s. That's at least like 10 versions of the top 10. That's a lot of top. Is everything okay?
Yeah, just need to fiddle. Should be fine.
Well then, fiddle away. I shall wait.
And I decided games deserve to be slaughtered or salvaged.
Alright, down, down, up, up, left, right. B-A, start! Okay, I fixed it.
Huh. Alright. Whew. I wonder what I was doing there. Okay, now, top 10. Let's do this. And because we're both terrible at memorization, we did write them down.
Alright, number 10. Best or worst games of the year.
This happens every year, like clockwork. I guess technically it is clockwork.
It is of the year.
Time and clocks.
The problem is these lists mostly write themselves. I mean, we just got off 2014, although you're probably getting off 2017 by the time you see this episode. Hello, future men. Please make sure I filed my taxes.
Future Joseph, just tell her how you feel, man. Just do it.
So the problem is, once you've seen one person do this, you pretty much have seen the list for every other person who does this. Like, you'll have the occasional, like, first and second place will be swapped or something like that, but it always is the same thing. Like, it never really any new justification, and well, honestly, 2014 was a pretty bad year for gaming. Unless your name was Nintendo. So that at least was annoying. But it always seems to represent the bottom tier of creativity when you just say, here are the best games this year, here are the worst games. Because again, half the time those lists write themselves.
We deal with enough competition with other people's genres. I mean, we're kind of kicking the crap out of the movie industry, but from a creative medium, from a progressive medium, our progressive perspective, we have to deal with a lot of misconceptions, and boiling down the games of the year to objectively stating that one game is better than another, not always a great thing.
Yeah.
For me, the fun part is knowing that, I mean, if any of the games that show up on the top 10 list are all probably deserving of the number one spot in at least some people's eyes. So it does feel good to know when, like, the game that I'm really rooting for got higher on the list than the ones I wasn't rooting for.
Yeah, but, if you only really want some famous internet personality to validate your opinion, may I recommend a mirror? It is far cheaper.
Yeah. There are, however, going to be some years that are just so chock full of great games that it's great to recap on that, just revisit, like, what were the most impactful games? What are the games that made people think about the medium? What were the games that we'll be talking about and discussing in the future? What were the games that delivered, gave us what we wanted to? That's all worth revisiting.
And it's also worth noting, why are you watching this kind of list? Do you want validation that your opinion was right, or are you looking for further evidence to pick up a particular game you're interested in? It's bottom tier of creativity. There's really nothing to be said there.
One other thing that I will say about it, before we go into number 9, at least, if you want to say something else about it, by all means, but when you're making the list, if people are gonna watch this, it's a great opportunity to say something about a game that maybe didn't get the attention it deserves. Games that are in the indie scene or just were overlooked for whatever reason in spite of the marketing. It's an opportunity to say, not only was this game good, this game was worth being on a list.
Well, I mean, a top 10 most underrated games would definitely be nice.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, so in the number 9th place, Controversy.
Speaking of bottom of the barrel.
Yep.
Controversies are only fun for me when there's a great story behind it. There are games that deliberately try to rattle bird cages.
Postal.
Yeah, postal hatred. Earlier in the previous generations, there was like BMX XXX, where you rode around on a bike topless. It's like, okay, well, you're obviously just doing it just to piss people off. But then there are also controversies in the past that made people discuss their what games mean to them, or what a particular genre means to somebody, or what a particular property, like the Legend of Zelda Wind Waker reveal. That to me is a big controversy because it got people talking about the art style to the game, and that's something worth discussing.
Yeah, well, I guess there's two levels to controversy. One, there's sort of fan controversy. Yeah, you were checking this out. There's sort of fan controversy, such as when they radically change art styles. And then you have kind of a...
I'm a little paranoid.
Yeah, it's... How do I best explain this? You get the angry video game nerd phenomenon. You have the angry video game nerd who pretty much exists there to yell at everything. You've got Jim Sterling, who pretty much exists to yell at everything.
I like Jim Sterling, by the way, but
I hate Jim Sterling, by the way.
he's the kind of person that you would understand if why he might be liked or hated.
He's the kind of person that represents everything wrong in the video game journalism industry.
Okay, well,
Yeah, sorry, I'll should keep my mouth shut.
we are talking about controversies, Lord no. Like,
but anyways, you have him,
Where's Jim?
and then you've got lots of people who thrive off finding the worst possible video games they can, and then just displaying their awfulness for everyone to see. And then you have people who focus on JRPGs and how they don't represent women correctly and all this stuff. And now you've evolved all the way to the point where you got the social justice warriors, where YouTube runs on cynicism, and it actually is really disgusting at times. And so, like, it's so easy to take one tiny little thing and blow it up for the sake of insult comedy on YouTube. And I find that we need less of it. Sometimes it's fun, and like, I like Cat Icarus, and he reviews the occasional bad game, but he also makes a point to review hidden gem games. And he puts a lot of production value. In fact, you could take out a lot of the video game stuff, and what he got is a pretty funny British person. So, like, he puts production value into stuff. But YouTube needs less cynicism. It's bleeding everywhere, and, you know...
one of the very difficult things about this is that the internet, not just YouTube, there are other sites that are guilty of this too, actively rewards negative behavior. I mean, when you make a snide comment that may or may not be true or accurate, and everybody laughs and agrees with you, that validates you as a person, and it's not a nice thing to say, but there is an outlet for you to do it and get some gains out of it. Ready to move on?
All right. So, number 8, top 10 kills or deaths in games.
This one's so badass, especially when when it's all like just like top 10 deaths in like a single game, a game that just happens to have a lot of different ways to die. Like, holy shit, I did not consider how many ways Leon Kennedy gets it in Resident Evil 4.
Ooh, yeah. If you were to play Dead Space 2, like, they seem to have very in-depth animations for each one of the creatures that can kill him, which, to the point of, you know, this is murder porn. But, you know, death is a very fundamental part of life, and thus a very fundamental part of video games. Even Disney films have a lot of people dying, usually by falling to their death, so you don't actually see any of the evidence of the deed.
Yeah, there are a lot of falling to deaths.
There are a
Scar.
Guy in...
No, Scar didn't fall to his death. That was Simba's dad.
Yeah, and well then I don't think the fall killed him as much as being stampeded upon.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
I'm sure the fall helped.
The fall made it difficult for him to withstand the stampede.
Yeah. There's the guy in Tarzan.
Mufasa, that was his name. I really needed to remember the name.
Yes, there's the guy in Tarzan. There was Gaston, who he just died because he slipped on something. There's the person from the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Okay, so let's not spend this whole thing on Disney episodes. But
Bad guy from Air Force One.
Yeah, that was a pretty significant fall.
Get off my plane.
Like having a character die can be very significant. Ares?
Did I say that right? I always said Eris.
Ares.
Ares is the god of war.
Right. Aerith.
Yeah, by the way, another death. Ares, god of war.
Yeah. Well, that was a hell of a build-up. I mean, the final fight was in multiple stages and had all this other shit happening. Just the final, I was trying to make you a great warrior.
There was this GoldenEye game that came out called Rogue Agent. It was supposed to be the continuation of the GoldenEye series. And you didn't play as 007. You played as a guy that was responsible for 007's death. And they show the death in the game, and it's fast. It's just like this helicopter is dropping, and 007 is on it, and it's just like one of the most renowned secret agents of all time, or not renowned if you're good at your job.
Oh, yeah.
Just drops dead like it was nothing.
So they inverted the end of GoldenEye, where 007 kicks the former 006
I know, this
off.
was like it had nothing to do with the GoldenEye story. It was just using the term GoldenEye to get people interested in the game. It was a different story.
Well, yeah, but at the end of that movie, 006 kicks the rogue 007 kicks the rogue 006 off a helicopter. So if you're saying it's true, they just inverted that.
But but 006 isn't involved in this. This happens after.
Oh, so you're not playing 006?
No, you're playing a rogue agent.
But anyways, so deaths of characters in games can be very significant, and deaths including when you kill them, such as when you kill the God of War by shoving the blade of Olympus through them, which previously served as a bridge. As I say, this is a bridge-sized sword, and you become a giant, and you pick up the bridge. Jesus, that is overkill.
I also just want to say very quickly how amused I was when Kratos, I think this was the third one, I forgot the name of the guy, but he pulls the head off
Helios. And he uses his head as a flashlight.
Yeah, as a lantern.
Well, he uses Medusa's head as a lantern, or as a petrifying device. But in his defense, that's actually how it happened in Jason and the Argonauts. They cut off Medusa's head and they used it to kill things because Medusa's blood can apparently bring back the dead, but not her.
Well, probably for the best.
Yeah.
Would have loved to see Kratos do a comedy routine with Helios. Just like, hey Helios, are you feeling beside yourself today? Yeah, that joke was giving people a bit of a headache. I can't see. I have a bright idea.
But again, it's a significant point. Like Assassin's Creed, you're supposed to be killing people. You're supposed to be figuring out how to go. Metal arms glitch in the system. You spend several levels chasing after a person. When you finally get to kill them, it's definitely very satisfying. Usually ending someone's life in video games, where failure or success is defined by who stands and who falls. Yeah. Offing these people is very significant, and a good death scene is very powerful. I mean, just look at the Wrath of Khan when Spock, spoiler alert, Spock died at the end. That was a very significant scene. He was standing there just slowly dying, being irradiated is one of the worst ways to go, because you can feel yourself being eaten from the inside over a short period of time. That was a powerful death scene, which kind of was reversed the moment they brought him back for the next movie. But if done correctly, it's a very monumental thing. It's often what you were building up to most of the game, was killing the bad guy, or even if you die yourself, it can be, and if it's part of the story, it can be very powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a huge fan of The Walking Dead, and that show is all about wondering who's going to die next, because there's going to be another death.
Oh, yeah.
But it stops being about who's going to die, and it starts being whose death is going to be significant. And when somebody does die, what did that say about the show? What does that say about this character?
There are, from what I've seen of The Walking Dead, they can be very unceremonious when they want to be, and that is part of the message. That's in fact part of why a lot of people like Attack on Titan, because when they kill people off, it's very unceremonious. It's very, you here, we want you to die, okay, this guy rips your arm off and now he shoves the rest of him down your throat. That was it. They over in 2 panels.
Yeah.
And this can be very important characters can die like that, and it kind of reminds you that even though you're following them, even though they have a first name and a last name, and you know about their family, they can still die just like anyone else. They don't get to sit there and bleed out for 5 minutes while they recite their memoirs for you to take down. Like, it's just...
There was a movie, I think it was something Shark, Deep Water. It was
yes.
And Samuel L. Jackson's character is like, we are not gonna fight anymore. We are gonna work together, and we are going to solve this.
Oh, you forgot the best part. We are gonna close this hatch.
Oh yeah, that's what he said. Close this hatch, and then pulls him in.
You should have started with close the hatch.
Yeah, close the hatch and then deliver the speech. Don't get your temperature raised. Those sharks were pretty smart.
In Aliens 3, we find out the backstory of the character who's helping Ripley, and then the very next moment, the xenomorph comes down and kills him. I have poured out my backstory. You know my first name, my last name, and my middle name, which I'm not very proud of, but it's still there on my birth certificate. And you know about my past, my family, my... That was a very powerful message. No one's immune. The xenomorph wins and no one's immune.
You know, I actually would have maybe put kills a little higher on this list.
Yeah,
let's bear in mind that, I mean, we would change our mind about this from time to time.
And also, I think there's a lot of bad examples of just stupidly done ones, so, like, it's...
Yeah, it's true. Number 7, top 10 mods. This is great because mods can sometimes make or break your game.
Well, it's a fan community thing. Like, it's one thing to just put on top hats and monocles onto your mud crabs and call it a day, which
make them swear, which still it would be the number one no matter what. Gosh, God fucking damn it, motherfucker! Whoever came up with that.
It's weird. But mods are really a chance for for the players of the game, people who are enjoying it, to get in there and tinker things around and just have some fun. And it goes back to an idea of a read-write culture. Someone, I forget their name, but, because I never haven't looked them up before this, someone commented that the creation of the infernal machines, otherwise known as the record players, would result in an end of the read-write culture. You, or your parents, rather, taught you to sing a song. So you sing that song to your kids. Now, maybe you do it slightly differently, or you do the intonation slightly differently because it's now you, and they sing it slightly differently. This turns into more than just a song. It turns into a lineage. It turns into a legacy. It turns into something which is passed down and altered slightly every generation to the point where it's now almost a living thing. Mm-hmm. But then we have a record player, and how do you sing the song? Oh, here we go. Here's the record. This is how you sing the song. So, a lot of, again, this philosopher, or possibly politician, commented that the infernal machine would result in the death of the read-write culture. But now we have, especially in video games, where the people who read it, the people who consume it, can now say, I want to do something differently. And sometimes it's a silly thing like swearing crabs, or top hats, or nude filters.
Or replacing the dragon with Macho Man Randy Savage.
Yeah, I was never a fan of that one. But...
it was funny.
It was funny the first time.
Yeah.
But now they can, beyond the humorous ones, you also have some very serious mods out there. You have people who will create entire sweeping campaigns, who will rope all their friends into doing voice acting, who will actually create something that, like a meaningful, overarching story, and then put it into the game. And I know we're technically referencing Skyrim a lot, but Shadowrun, you could build entire campaigns. Unreal Tournament, you could build entire modes, weapons, vehicles.
Minecraft became what it is today, by the way, wearing the Creeper shirt, very nice. Because, the game itself was a facilitator of the creative spirit, but you can then modify the game all you wanted to. And just the things people come up with. There's like a working rocket ship.
It's... modifications, again, are also something that doesn't really get a lot of attention regularly. You can say, hey, look, this game is good, but you actually say, these mods are good. Look at this amazing looking armor. Whoever crafted this armor for this game really likes it. Mm-hmm. Look at this amazing character that you can now play as in Unreal Tournament. A lot of love was put into this. This wasn't just something, it explodes into its own unique giblets instead of just, using somebody else's existing ones. Mods are the revitalization of the read-write culture. And again, there's silly ones, but there's also a lot of serious ones out there. And of course, there's nude filters, which you'd never find on my computer, but it's nice that they exist.
Yep.
For science.
I don't know. I used one in Skyrim, but it wasn't like I made everybody walk around naked. It was like if I take the clothes off, then there's.
That doesn't sound that bad. That sounds like a bit more level of realism, because I don't think they would really had underwear back then.
Yeah, and I mean everyone was getting undressed, so.
Oh.
Yeah, so I wasn't being just perverted about it. Obviously, somewhat perverted. I also wanted to make a special mention to the mod potential that was in World of Warcraft. The mods were so integral to my experience that I actually can't imagine having played the game without them.
I think you mean Warcraft 3.
No, World of Warcraft.
World of Warcraft.
Yeah, World of Warcraft was very moddable. Not from like a create new content standpoint, but in adjusting the user interface and in adding in little extra tweaks here or there to improve or enhance your experience. It was great.
Really?
Yeah, there was one mod that I really loved. It was the music mod. It would replace whatever songs usually played in a zone with whatever music you wanted. And there were triggers too. So if you wanted to play music when you were in battle, then you could rig up a bunch of battle music to play. If you wanted to play something when you leveled up, you can play, I don't know, I did the Final Fantasy victory music, but I also had some other ones in there. The best was when I would go to each town and I tried to find a song that I felt worked for each of the towns instead. I used the Castle Cyan from Final Fantasy VI for Orgrimmar. I used Balam Garden for Silvermoon. Beyond Good and Evil track for Ironforge. Just like went through all of them and just had such a good time making the game more my own. And that's where I appreciate mods the most, is because you're paying for the service. It's money out of your pocket. Once you decide to not use the service anymore, your access is done. So it means so much to the player to be able to make the most out of that experience as they can.
That actually sounds like a really... I kind of wish more games would do that. I know you can do that with Left 4 Dead by going into the music thing and just changing the files the way you want, but yeah. That's very amazing. I did not know that. I have learned something about World of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm. Number 6.
Non-playable characters. Now this is always a fun one because in the end, you are only one person. Even if you're playing a real-time strategy game or a turn-based strategy, like something where you have a very access to a party, you are ultimately one person. And often that one person doesn't really have a lot going for them because they need to embody the player. So you need as blank a slate as possible to act as the main character as possible. So most of the characterization just comes from the people you are interacting with. The people who aren't really... Oh, I mean, when we say non-playable characters, I think we're referring even just to people who aren't in your party. The townspeople, the shopkeeper. Like, all the...
Yeah, I mean, the shopkeeper... you're obviously referencing the Resident Evil 4 one, right?
Yep.
Yeah, the merchant. I mean, he's probably more memorable than most of the other aspects of the game. Not because the rest of the game wasn't as good as the shopkeeper, but he was such a bizarre character to show up that he still had a purpose. Yeah. He was very helpful, and there were consequences to your interactions with him. If you killed him, he stopped showing up.
You could kill him?
You can shoot him.
I never tried. Why would you shoot him? Why would you shoot him?
Oh crap! See, now I'm self-conscious. I have to go back and shoot him just to make sure I'm right about this.
Well,
pretty sure you can shoot him.
Who in their right mind would shoot the shopkeeper? What the hell would he drop?
I shot the shopkeeper.
But I didn't shoot the... Oh, fuck. Giant mutilated spider, that is the final boss, whose name I don't remember. I didn't shoot Napoleon! He got away. That was very disappointing.
Lord Sadler.
Lord Sadler. That was Napoleon was Lord Sadler? Or?
No, that was Salazar.
Salazar. Don't you feel sad he couldn't have killed him? Wouldn't that have been great?
Salazar?
Yeah.
You did kill him.
The midget?
Yeah. He was a boss.
Did he turn to something entirely grotesque? Well, of course he turned to something grotesque.
Of course he turns to something grotesque. It's Resident Evil. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
No, he definitely...
I'm trying to... Because I know you fight his right hand, but you don't fight his left hand. He's got two of those mummy things, or the things that look like Heaven Smiles. You never played Killer 7, did you?
It's on my list, but
Well, they were those special zombies which looked like the bad guys from Killer 7, and you had to use the thermoscope to see the
oh
leeches
yeah, yeah,
on them.
yeah.
Yeah, he deployed like a souped up version of one of those, and he called it his right hand. I've deployed my right hand to kill you, and then you make some jokes like your hand comes off. Except, so, but you never fight his left hand. Apparently you can, but it's one of those you have to backtrack and do some special things in order to fight it.
No, I'm telling you, it was definitely a boss battle. He gets really big, and it's in a chamber, and you can actually drop down and had to run back up a ladder, climb a ladder.
Yes, I remember that now. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah, yeah. I very that game is very vivid to me because I just remember it being such a phenomenal experience.
Yeah, but and another fantastic example of great NPCs would be Majora's Mask.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Like the entire town is alive and getting on with their life while you're trying. But generally, in NPCs in general, they flesh out the world. They exist there to do something. Even in Bioshock, the NPCs are essentially, represented. There we go. By all the video clips you find. Like they flesh out the world. They inhabit
clips,
it.
but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I said video. Wow, I feel silly. But they flesh out the world. They make it like, yes, people live here. This you aren't just the player character coming and do something. This is a world.
Yeah.
And we exist. And we do so. Hearing about memorable NPCs is great.
Let's move on. Number 5. Ooh, I like this one. Okay. Top 10 Easter eggs.
Ooh, yes, Easter eggs.
Easter eggs are great because, as the name implies, it's something that you have to find.
I would like to point out that I liked Easter eggs a lot more before you got achievements for them.
Yeah.
Because once upon a time, here's an Easter egg and you felt special about it. Now, it's turned into an achievement hunting thing. You find this Easter egg and you get, you found this whatever trophy. Now you get this an actual trophy in your PlayStation menu. Like, Dead Space 2, you find a trophy and then you get an identical version of a trophy on your profile.
Yeah, I mean, how much do you want to bet that developers typically objected to having to do that? Because they wanted the Easter egg to just be a fun thing to find.
Well, I think in that case it's a bit silly. The idea that you find a literal trophy and then the PlayStation Network gives you a trophy for finding the trophy, I think that may have been a little self-awareness. Yeah. But most
part of the thing about that though is that an Easter egg, if you want to keep it to yourself, then you should be able to. When the achievement pops up, everybody knows that it's there.
Yeah.
But one of the great things about watching the top 10 Easter egg videos is that you're bound to at least see one or two that you've never seen before.
Yeah, especially if you're talking about the original Duke Nukem. I mean, that thing was pretty much primarily Easter eggs.
Yeah. There are some great ones, especially in the Grand Theft Auto games, because the worlds are so big. There's the ghost one. There's the, if you can get this, if you see this, you weren't supposed to be here.
Yep.
The Super Mario 64 had, some of them were glitches. Some of them were actual Easter eggs. Like you would click through one of the walls and you could see a gigantic letter F for some reason. And it's just like the reason what makes the Easter eggs so great is that you forget that this is a game made by people, and that doesn't happen as much anymore because there's patches and there's DLC. So it's clearly there's people that are involved in this project. But before that one, when it was just cartridges. And we were younger, we didn't really think about the development process. It was just, here's the game. Someone somehow made it, but you don't know anything about the people who made it.
Which actually was hilarious, because the very first Easter egg ever was in the game Adventure, which was later made into Misadventure and Newgrounds, which actually was really fun. But in it, one of the rooms you could access by going through obscure corridors gave you the credits to the game. And the developer put that in there because if anyone tried to, just photocopy his game, you could just navigate your way to this obscure area and spontaneously made by whatever the guy's name was, this year, et cetera, et cetera. And that was considered to be, I don't know if that was really the very first one, but that's when people talk about the oldest Easter egg possible. They talk about the game Adventure, where you're just this little block running around, and the guy who made it hiding the credits in one of the rooms.
One of my favorite ones is from Super Mario Galaxy 2. It's called the Creatures of Hell Valley, which is in one of the levels. It's an ice level.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking the wrong one then.
You look to your left and there's these canyons, and there's these little tiny alien sprites that are watching you.
Oh, I thought that was a fire level for some reason.
I think it was an ice and fire level. It might have been both.
Well, I remember hearing about that. The canyon background is a fixed distance
Yeah.
as part of the backdrop, so you can never get closer to it.
No.
Yeah, but I remember hearing about that. Those were interesting.
Yeah.
Mario games actually have a lot of them. I remember Super Mario Sunshine, if you hack the cartridge, the running guy in it is actually the same running guy from Majora's Mask.
Mario Sunshine?
Yeah. You know, there's a guy wearing a Tanuki suit or whatever, and you race him. Apparently, he's the same guy from one of the Legend of Zelda games.
Huh.
But you have to, like, hack to get the mask off.
Yeah. Also, you said cartridge. Mario Sunshine came on a disc.
Right, okay. Yeah, spinning in circles.
Fair enough. Number 4?
Locations or settings, depending. These are incredibly important to any game. Skyrim breathes. It is a location. We're talking about Skyrim a lot this episode. It breathes.
Skyrim's a great game.
It. I need to buy it. It breathes. It's a living world. It has trees. It has wildlife that will attack each other with no regards to you being there. Oh, you happen to be there? What the fuck ever. We're wolves. That's a deer. We're hungry. We don't need you to come in and start killing us or attacking us to get us to aggro each other. We're just going to go and aggro that deer because we're wolves and that's what we do.
Yeah. It makes you think that there are those kinds of things happening elsewhere without you seeing it. Because you don't like having the feeling that everything is always happening because of you. You want to feel like you are a part of a world that will be here before you and will be here after you.
You're not the center of the story, you're just the protagonist. You're not eternal, you're just the now.
Yeah. You are pivotal, but only as much as you determine that. You can not get involved in the main plot at all. You can just let the dragons do their thing. You don't have to deal with it.
You can
If
get
you choose
married,
to
build
be-
a house. You know.
Yeah, if you choose to live in the world and be a complete pacifist, that's up to you. And you can still get max level just by blacksmithing.
Yep. And I think another fantastic example would just be the world of Rapture, which is both a setting and a location. The Rapture unto itself is a setting. It is this location at the bottom of the sea where various concepts of the American dream and ideals have been put into a bottle and sewn to shake, and then within this world we insert Adam, the ability to alter the world in fundamental metaphysical ways, and then just the ramifications of the whole thing. The audio tapes allowing you to listen to the fall, and then within this setting, within Rapture, are all these locations. You have the art gallery where the person who runs it basically won't let you progress through the story until you satisfy his murderous cravings to create this supposed masterpiece, which you can only create there because there's no censor. You have the hospital wing, which is occupied by this doctor obsessed with beauty and literally kidnapping and mutilating people to try to make them perfect. You have the little sisters.
Beyond perfect. I remember his thing. He's like, this one, too big. This one, too small. This one, too even.
Too even? Oh.
Yeah, it was something silly, like too even or too perfect or too symmetrical.
Oh, yeah.
Or something that a sane person wouldn't complain about.
Yeah, and in the little sister factory, like it's the facility, I call it a factory. Like that, like you could go up to the buttons where you know, Big Daddy or Parent. You push the parent button, you lose one of your health because you got shocked. You pick the Big Daddy button, you know, here's some chips that you can eat for health. Like the whole thing was just twisted. All the locations came together into one beautiful setting, but each individual part. We all live in these worlds. I mean, technically speaking, we live in the real world. This is a world. That world out that window there. Okay, I'm going to try not to. That world out that window there is bigger and more important than us. And we just live in it and we try to interact with it. And having a world that responds to, or having. Even if it's just a location, even if it's just you go to this particular place on this particular hill and you get a beautiful sunset, like those are great discovering and hearing about and then going and check out for yourself.
And it's also great, too, when the setting and the location feels as important as any of the characters or any of the concepts. I mean, what would Super Mario be without Mushroom Kingdom? What would Zelda be without Hyrule? I could do that for hours, just locations to the games. I'm not going to do that.
All right, so next up on this at number 3.
Bosses.
Yes!
Oh, these are always so much fun because it's either something that you have faced and you remember what it was like to face that, or it's for something that you haven't played yet and you're like, oh my god, that's a boss. I need to play this game.
These things can be all over the place. I mean, the bosses are the antagonists. They are the gatekeepers. They are standing in your way, and you cannot progress any further to get past them. Now, there's multiple ways to do this. Some games, you don't have to kill these people to get past them. You can just sneak around them, or if you do parts of the plot. Let's say you're getting frustrated with the battle with the end, which, yes, is a very long battle and very annoying. But you can say, in Metal Gear Solid 3, you could save the game, wait 2 weeks, come back, and the end will have died of old age because he's really old. But that whole fight, which I actually just fought, that was a memorable experience. That was a horrendous game of cat and mouse, and I remember every time it rained, I went out of my way, and actually almost fell to my death, and I found the rain camo, and it wasn't until that fight that actually worked. Whenever the rain came, I'd switch to the rain cam, and all of a sudden I can stand up and run around, and the end couldn't find me, and it gave me such an amazing ability to reposition. That was an amazingly memorable fight. That probably was the most memorable fight of the entire game.
Yeah.
And incredibly long.
It's also important, too, from a gameplay perspective, that the bosses are also your major tests. They're like your exams at the end of a semester. They're here to see if you have enough skill as a player to move on from this point. And if there's any part of the game I can excuse being the most difficult part, it's the boss. Because I want these things to challenge me as much as possible.
I remember in Soul Calibur 2, they had the Weapon Master mode, or whatever it's called. Every one of the fights had a condition, or had something like, defeat this challenger, or defeat this challenger within this time, or ring out this challenger, and all this, they all had various conditions. The final fight simply said, show us what you have learned. That was memorable. That was, wow.
Yeah.
This is we're no more handicaps, no more silly requirements, no whatever. Show us what you have learned.
It's also important for the developers to really consider what interactions you have with the boss to send a message about the kind of game you wanted to make. And the best example that I can think of for this is, I can't remember the name of the section because Half-Life was broken into sections. But there is a boss that is this tentacle, well, it's a monster, but with tentacles, that if you just try to shoot it, you'd run out of ammo and you would have wasted it. But you spend the entire level with this thing just hanging out, doing its own thing, that you had to figure out a way to destroy it. And it's an indirect fight. It's never just hide behind it, pop out, shoot it, hide behind, pop out, shoot it. It's a puzzle. It's a very difficult puzzle, and it takes a whole level to beat. And it is so interesting that they went with this. It says so much about what it means to be a Half-Life game versus just any other game involving guns and angry people and aliens.
This alien is not only more powerful than you, he is so much more powerful than you that he doesn't even register your gunshots. You have to find something that is on his level to kill him. Another interesting thing about boss fights in general would be the Arkham Asylum series.
Oh yes, I remember this example. Okay.
Well, in Arkham City, you have Mr. Freeze, who you have to knock him out a certain number of times, but you can never use the same way twice. He'll do something if you knock him out by using the gargoyles, he'll just immediately take down the gargoyles, so you can't do that again. If you knock him out using the grates, he freezes the grates, so you can't use them again. If you knock him out using an explosive with the glass, he shatters all the glasses, so you can't do that again. Every time you get a new angle on him, he stops that angle. In hard mode, he has so much health that one of the ways you have to take him down is with a zipline kick. I know you haven't played that game?
No.
It is incredibly difficult to execute a zipline kick on the ground without the opponent seeing you coming halfway through and him just shooting you. It is a very, he is adapting to you, and that makes it very memorable. Another memorable boss is in Arkham Asylum, where you have the final fight with the Joker, which is memorable in the sense that it is forgettable. It's very anticlimactic, it's very bad, and it's basically just one protracted fight where once in a while you have to run away from a super mutated Joker, and then he just goes back doing his own things, you're back to fighting a bunch of goons, and then once the goons are done, you have to run away from a very protracted Joker. It just keeps getting, it's just silly, and it's just and it's the most disappointing part of that entire game was the very end, but everything leading up to that was amazing. But these encounters, whether they be a final boss, whether they be mid-fight, can really say so much. I think, like, I didn't beat The Witcher all the way, but one of the fights against, like, yes, I would call him a boss, actually. I can't believe I almost hesitated on that. Was against somebody who died earlier. I think I may have mentioned this in the previous episode, but because of a decision I made earlier in the game, one of the characters died. And later on, when you're just exploring, the King of the Wild Hunt, or Death, pretty much, confronts you and basically, says like, you are the one who's evaded my grasp. You keep barely escaping, like how long. And he summons up the spirit of the person who died, who challenges you, who says like, yes, the wheel turns, there's life, there's death, but never death for you. You always escape. It is others who will die in your place. And he fights you. And that was a very memorable fight for me because, well, he was somewhat tricky, but at the same time, here lays before me the fading body of a wraith who is unto himself existing only because of the decisions I made earlier. And there's my consequence. I had to fight this thing. Mm-hmm. I had to fight this boss.
There's one other game that I need to mention because if I don't, I would regret it. Shadow of the Colossus is a game entirely based off boss fights. And every fight is a complete change of expectation. And there's like a flow to it. Like some of them are very active and dynamic. Some of them are slow and protracted. Just when you think it's going to get bigger, it actually becomes a very small creature. Just when you think you won't see another airborne one, it's another airborne one. Some that go into the dirt. I mean, if you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, please do so. It is masterful.
Right. It and Ico are on that HT set, and Ico, the only game with an escort quest that we can forgive.
I don't know. I didn't mind Ashley so much. You can make her hide in a dumpster.
The thing that annoyed me the most about Ashley is I get knocked to the ground and she, covers her. Eek! Pervert! It's like, God damn it, I'm being attacked by cultists! Damn it, I'm not looking up your skirt, you psycho!
That was. Number 2. Sidekicks.
Speaking of Ashley.
Yeah. If NPCs were what helps flesh out the world, the sidekicks more so, because the sidekicks are the ones that are with you most of the way, if not all of the way.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, Bioshock Infinite, any of the companions in Zelda, your companions in Skyrim. What else is there?
Which you can actually get mods for companions to Skyrim, fully voiced and all that jazz.
You have
your party members in any any RPG with a party.
Yeah, I really like the way the original Paper Mario did it, where you can only have one associate with you at a time, and you can switch out through battles depending on which one you wanted to. So I really enjoyed that one. In Pokemon, it's like you and an army of sidekicks.
Yeah. Well, I think if I have to say that, I'd probably say more the Shimigami Tenshi series, because originally speaking, it was you and your demon party members, but you were still there. You still had a gun and a sword and all that stuff. So.
Right.
But, again, the sidekicks, the people who stick with you, they're the ones you interact with the most. Alex is far more memorable
of course.
than Gordon Freeman. I mean, Gordon Freeman's a mute, and he just does his stuff. And then you got Alex, who's this girl who rescues you early, and she can take care of herself. And I remember you go to the medical center, it's like, who needs bandages? I got a shotgun. And she was fun. And, there's even that one part where her father kind of implied you and her maybe, having babies.
There were several parts where he implies that. They were pushing it.
Well, I mean, you're a very capable person, and, possibly indebted to a guy wearing a suit who exists outside of all in time and space, who apparently is able to manipulate everything and make deals with aliens. But beyond that,
you're good enough to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, but beyond that, you're an eligible bachelor.
True.
And she's a very smart girl who can take care of herself.
How many people have MIT educations in this new world? Not many.
Yeah, no, especially not at his age.
No, which luckily for him stayed the same for a considerable amount of years.
Well, he did skip some years whilst he was in between worlds, or whatever you want to call it, on that train.
Beyond Good and Evil is always a game that I like to hold as a standard for storytelling, and the sidekicks in that game there were only a couple, but they were very important characters, and they had things that they would do to help you, like they both had a ground pound kind of thing to help you get through some puzzles. It was never very difficult, but I mean the company was great.
Yeah. And again, like these are your partners in life. These are the people to whom you face the dragon with, that you must overcome your fear of death with. And going back to early on the list, kills, deaths, losing them can be a very significant plot turn event. Unless, of course, it's just a matter of we're training a dog for you to eventually shoot later.
Mm.
Like Deus Ex Human Revolution, you have this quirky pilot girl, and she only really shows up when you need to fly somewhere, but she still has a personality. She gives you a side quest at one point looking for help with her friends. Like, she's a very direct person. She's not
Yeah.
like full on in your face personality, but she's she's a tough girl. And then at one point, you're in a crash, and you got jumped out before her because she's the pilot, so she has to try not to crash the thing. And there's all these people trying to kill her. And I failed that section the first time I tried it because I tried to snipe everybody. I should have been a hell of a lot more proactive than I was. And I felt horrible. Like, she died. This was actually a point in the game where she could have died. And I actually restarted that section. It's like, fuck that. Like, okay, I can't snipe everybody. Take out the pistol. Put on the sprint upgrade. Let's just, run and gun and just get as many of these people as possible. And I think it may have taken more than one try, but I did it. And hey, she's alive. And it felt good because essentially the story wanted to kill her.
Yeah.
And, hey, she's still here. Perfect. She still has my back.
One of the other interesting things about sidekicks is that because they are the person that you spend the most amount of time with, I don't see it as much in games as I do in other mediums, but the sidekick is the one that shows you the influence that you have as a character and as a person.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Robin and Batman, for example, classic combination of the main character and sidekick. It's really Robin that helps ground Batman and reminds him of his humanity and keeps him in check and tells him that your actions will have impact and will have consequences. So depending on what you do, Robin will be influenced by that. And if you do well, he turns into, I don't know, Nightwing, and he's independent and he's fine.
The next one turns into Red Robin, and then the next one turns into
into nothing, and he dies. Or
yeah. No, you're thinking the first one, he dies. But then he comes back and becomes the Red Hood because DC is convoluted.
And things just can't stay dead because that's not how you sell things.
And if you're going to bring up Batman and Robin, I think an even better example of that would just be the Doctor. I mean, he always needs a companion with him because he's 2,000 years old. He's the last of his kind, except his kind is kind of lost, so maybe he's not the last of his kind. And, he's seen stars die and be born. He's seen whole civilizations fall. He's had a hand in helping civilizations fall. He's saved people. He's killed people, or at least left them to die. He's a warrior. He's a destroyer. He's a healer. He's a philosopher. He's all these things, and I really think he would have gone batshit crazy if he didn't have a human companion to ground him. He needs that person there, tugging him, saying like, hey, you've gone too far, or hey, you need to do something. I remember the episode they had with David Tennant when they went to Pompeii, where he realized he had to set off the volcano that destroys the place because otherwise the whole planet was doomed. He had to essentially destroy its entire city in order to save the world. And Martha, thank you. I almost had to trade in my Whovian fan club mug. Martha tells him, like, okay, you can't save everyone, but save somebody. Just save anyone. And he rescues the family that's been helping them. And it's, again, he had to destroy the city. He can't save everyone because that would be too much of a violation of time and space. But just he saved one family. And Martha was the one who told him, just save them, like save somebody. And, even the latest Doctor Who with Peter Capaldi and Clara Oswald, I'm switching back from character, and the current Doctor and Clara, she's really bossy, and he's basically turned into I've done way too much for the universe. I'm still here, but I've done so much and I've done whatever. And she's the one no, get your ass off the ground. You got work to do. And they make an incredible dynamic like that, and it really, the Doctor really is mostly defined by these companions he brings along. They influence him because he's lost. He really is. And there was one episode.
Very quickly, you made me think of Sherlock and Watson.
Yeah.
They're more partners, but still.
They're more partner. I'm trying to remember the exact name of the episode, but there's this one episode during the Matt Smith years where I was almost crying during it because I got the real impression that the Doctor had just had it. Like he was over again. He's over 2,000 years old. He'd seen so many people he cared about die. He'd seen whole civilizations died. He'd done things he regretted. And I got this like the choir was a real choir, but they were like trying to be aliens. There's singing in the background, and there's alien that basically consumed experiences, and he was offering himself up to try to buy extra time to say, and like, he was going through all these things that happened to him. I generally thought he wanted to die. I generally thought that, as a character, the Doctor just said, like, no, no more. I've had it. Please, just, I've had it. I can't do it anymore. And, Clara comes in and, saves him and sort of shows him that, yeah, there's still things that can yet to be seen. And that was an incredibly powerful episode. And I have to say, like, just Doctor Who in general is just an amazingly powerful show when they know what they're doing with it.
Right on. Ready for the last one?
Yeah.
If you are intending to put something in the comments section, I'm curious to see what you thought the last one was going to be.
Oh, we're just going to give you a moment to pause.
I actually have to run to the washroom. I don't know if I can give this to the moment.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, great.
All right, well, I have full control of the show for a moment. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this in the bathroom, bitch. I am the very model of a modern major general. I've been vegetable, animal, and mineral. I know the significant contact with my historical, marathon, Waterloo, nor categorical. I'm very well acquainted with madam and medical. I can solve the equation with the biblical data. Come by and theorem I am teaming London news. With major facts of this right of the bottom news. I'm very good at integral and differential calculus. I know scientific and beings and animalius. And sort of vegetable, animal, and mineral. I am the very model of a modern major general. In fact, when I imagine Mevalon and Revelin, when I can tell the sight of my survivor from a javelin, when such affairs are sorties and surprises I'm aware at, and when I know precisely what my commissary at, when I really should stop trying to do this. When I have learned progress has been made in modern gunnery, when I know more tactics than novice in nunnery, in short of a smattering of elemental strategy, you'll say a better major general never satiki, rode a horse. Doing military knowledge line pumpkin adventures, only wrote down to the beginning of the century. So the vegetable, animal, and mineral, I am the very moderator general. I'm surprised if you slow that down, if that actually turns into coherent words, or if I just was going so fast it just turned into. But anyways, that actually settles a bet I had with several people. So when this video goes up, I'm going to link it to them, and this settles that issue. We're done. All right? We're done. For those who don't know, that was Modern Major General from Pirates of Provence, or yes, Pirates by Gilbert and Sullivan. And maybe next time I shouldn't pick a song that goes so quickly. Farewell and adieu to you Spanish ladies, farewell and adieu for you ladies of Spain, for we've received orders to sail for old England, and we hope very much to see you again. We'll rant and we'll roar like true British sailors. We'll rant and we'll roll across the salt seas until we strike groundings in the channel of old England. From Rosshank to Scilly is 35 leagues. And that's about as far as I know. Okay, he's coming back. Good. So, you've all had enough time to put these in the comments, so you better have actually used this time, alright?
I forgot to wash my hands.
Oh, for the love of all things holy.
I'm kidding. I know how much people hate being strung along for the last one. By the way, for anybody who does those top 10 videos where they're about to reveal number 1 and they have to recap the last 9, we just watched the video.
Serious?
We just watched it. Okay?
Okay, so if you want to add suspense for number 1, doing the honorable mentions is a good way. But yeah, recapping, we just watched the fucking video.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, but I would rather do honorable mentions afterwards. You decompress.
Yeah.
Alright, so number 1, weapons. There, sorry to keep you waiting.
There we go. Weapons. Well, weapons is most of the time, let's face it, video games can be pretty violent. Like, you're usually attempting to save people by ending the lives of other people, and the means to which you do so are often very interesting and often very...
And then you can just gun down the same people you say that anyways.
Yeah, well, I guess if you're playing the Call of Duty. They always have that one controversial level, don't they? But it's always like that is your main interaction with the world is your ability to end other people, and it can range from standard broadswords to better broadswords to master broadswords. In fact, D&D has a listing for something called a master sword.
Okay.
It you want to know what it does?
Does it? No, go ahead, tell me.
It lets you assume two combat stances at the same time.
Okay.
You think that would be a skill, not something the weapon has to do. But
Weapons have a way of being as popular as any other aspect of the game. You have something like GoldenEye. You had the Golden Gun,
mhm.
which was a one-shot kill, regardless of whether you were wearing armor or nothing. You had the hat from Oddjob.
Oh,
Oddjob alone was problematic because he was so short. Then you give him a hat that he can throw, completely breaks the game. I mean, if there was a GoldenEye meta, it would be Oddjob versus Oddjob.
well, an all odd job match is like, ha, we're all the same height. Wow, this was silly. Is there a shorter person?
Nope. Oddjob is as short as it gets.
Yeah, and it's always these can be really fun. What I would like to see, and I challenge all of the YouTube people out there to do this, a top 10 melee weapons in a first-person shooter, because that's always one of the more interesting ones. You got the crowbar, which, well, the only real redeeming factor behind the crowbar is a lot of things you have to get are in boxes. So smashing them with a crowbar is you're smashing the box open.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's always an interesting aspect. But the weapons again are how we interact, and that's also some place where they get really silly creative. Sunset Overdrive, you have a grenade launcher that shoots teddy bears that have the grenades in them because reasons.
Comedy.
Yeah, because comedy. You have the flak cannon in Unreal Tournament, which is basically a shotgun. But if you read the lore on it, like it has no shotgun components. It fires these flak shells, and they bounce, and then you can do the alt fire to shoot these grenades, and it's a very fun weapon. You have Pandora in Devil May Cry 4, which is just a suitcase, and you can just fire a shot from it, or you can do all these other configurations where, here's a standard gun. Okay, now it's transformed into a chain gun. Okay, now it's transformed into a laser platform. And
Bloodborne just came out recently, and it's got I don't know what it is, but it's like it almost looks like an enhanced version of a razor blade that you would use to shave your face. It starts off compressed, and that you just like fight in close range. Then you flip it open, and it's gigantic. And like,
oh yes,
I can't remember the name of it.
Bonesaw.
Bonesaw? That's what it's called?
I think. Saw is in its name, I know that for sure.
So there is an example of how a weapon can say so much about the nature of this world.
And there's another interesting weapon in that, which is it's a sword, so it's good for quick strikes, but then you can switch it into a chain whip mode, and now it's not as fast, but you can get all this range with it. The guns in Bloodborne, there's really only two, but they're both pretty influential. I mean, you get the blunderbuss and stagger everybody at once, or you can get the rifle to stagger somebody from a nice range away. There's pretty much everything in Unreal Tournament is fun. There's a shotgun in the Crysis game, which I really liked it because you could switch it between two modes. The standard spread mode, which wasn't even that extreme compared to other shotgun. That was an actual shotgun. You know how in most video games, the pellets just magically turn to cotton candy after a couple of feet?
Yeah.
This one was a real one. It kept a tight focus, and it was really good at medium range. But with a flick of a switch, or pushing the C button, it switched to cluster mode. And all of a sudden, instead of firing a spread, it fired a very tightly compressed cluster. And then I took the scope, I put it on the shotgun, and all of a sudden I had an obscenely powerful mid-range sniper in my hands. That was a very memorable gun from that game. And there's just a weapon. Again, weapons are the main way to interact. They are the tool to which we enact the power fantasy, which is video games.
And weapons being a primitive or non-primitive, depending on the context, a form of technology. Technology is always about the human's ability to create extensions of themselves. We create things because we want to use them to help better our own lives. I mean, what would a Spartan be without their shield and sword and spear? Those weapons define them. It is as they said in 300. It is as much as you as your own beating heart. What would a Jedi be without lightsaber? God, there's just so many. I mean, Gordon Freeman would be Gordon Freeman without his crowbar, but no one would want Gordon Freeman to carry a different melee weapon. They go through the effort of being like, by the way, Gordon, you dropped this in Black Mesa. Yeah, I was holding on to it for 10 years, even though I didn't think I'd ever see you again. But yeah, there you go.
Was that episode 2?
No, that was the first Half-Life 2.
Oh.
Barney hands you the crowbar, which, by the way, is probably just a random crowbar, and Barney's just being a dick.
Yeah, I also remember in Half-Life 2, like I think it was episode 2, Barney is there again. They've got a crowbar propping up the bridge, so he takes it out so the bridge falls down. And he's like, well, here you go, Freeman, we're starting to run out of these. Try not to lose this one. So, I mean, that's always a nice way to have fun. Weapons, in both in video games and real life, seem to share this common thread. You are aped. You are primitive. You have nothing. You have your fist. You are man. You are evolved. You have this opposable thumb. You grip a stick. Use the stick. You now have leverage. You can now beat them over the head. Yeah. Over time,
You've seen 2001: A Space Odyssey, haven't you?
We all have.
Okay.
Even if you think you haven't. You get the stick, you whack somebody, you make a better stick, you have a better handle, you have better fulcrum. You make a stick out of rock, or you tie a rock to the end. The rock now gives you more beating edge. You make an entire sword out of rock, or rather out of metal. It is still a stick, it is still a club, but now it is sharp and slices through things. You build a better sword. The sword does more damage. You make a spear, the spear gives you more range. You use a string with a piece of wood, and now the spear is able to fly long distances away from you. You get lots of chemicals together, you create an explosive that now propels the tip of a spear through a person.
Now it's like a sword shooting in millions of directions.
Well, that does work in Borderlands, but essentially speaking...
Of course Borderlands shoots swords everywhere, of course.
Yes, there is a gun in Borderlands 2 where it shoots swords that explode into more swords that also explode. But ostensibly speaking, when you think about it, all weapons come back to the club. All weapons come back to the fact that I have an opposable thumb and I can grip something around the side. We are all wielding clubs. We are all wielding some variant or some evolution on this simple motion. And it's just been getting more efficient and more efficient. And sometimes more silly.
Definitely more silly. Do you have a favorite weapon?
I'd say favorite old-time weapon. I've always been one for sniper rifles, and I think one of my favorite ones would have to be in Sanctum 2. I know I've mentioned that a few times. A lot of games have alternate fire, but most of the time, if there's a sniper rifle involved, the alternate fire is the scope. In Sanctum 2, they bound the scope to a different button, and the alternate fire on that is a scatter shot. So your standard fire is a powerful bullet. Your secondary fire is a shot that will go through the first enemy and then explode out, injuring whoever's behind it. And this really is the first example I've seen of a sniper really trying to incorporate some kind of alternate fire. Yeah. And it means you can conserve your ammo with 4 precise shots using the primary fire, or do 2 shots of the secondary fire, and again, it adds something interesting to the mix. And, it's always fun when you see a crossbow in a video game, because how are they going to do the crossbow? It's always one of those interesting questions of how you do it.
Mm-hmm. For me, I can't think of any weapon that I feel like is more integral to the nature of the story and the franchise than the lightsaber to Star Wars. The color of the lightsaber says so much. The hilt says a lot. The shape of the lightsaber, I mean, the dual wielding, the double sided, okay, that's cool.
The cross guard.
Yeah. Oh god. But nothing beats the simplicity of one person having a blue lightsaber, one person having a red lightsaber, and really representing good and evil as the two just basic concepts fighting one another. Even though neither side would consider themselves to be the evil one, they would just consider themselves to be in the right.
Yeah. I think the Sith are very unique in the sense that even their means of promotion, like killing off your master, is legitimate.
Yeah.
It's like
the master cannot be more proud of the pupil.
Yeah, like he's kind of expecting it. I'm sure he'll defend himself because he wants to prove he's better. But in a Jedi, when they train somebody, they're training somebody to come up and be the same rank. The Sith, I'm training you to eventually replace me, and when that time comes, you're gonna try to kill me, and I'm gonna defend myself, and you're probably gonna look very silly, be stuck in your butt, and maybe I'll chop off one of your arms in the process. You have to get a prosthetic. but that's legitimate ascension for them, and they always use the same color red. I mean, the Jedi have so many other colors, but the Sith all use red.
Yeah, well, there's no other color that they would really prefer.
Mm.
Honorable mention goes to the arm cannon on Samus.
Oh yeah.
I like saying Samus better. It seems more her, but whatever. When we were talking about this episode before we made it, I made a note that I wasn't going to reference any of the Zelda weapons because they're not weapons, they're tools. Some of them just happen to be very good at killing other things, but to me that's always been kind of the nature of Link as a character, which is he tries not to use these things as weapons. He uses them as means of solving problems. Some problems require a little more violence than other problems, but that all kind of comes together in Zelda.
Alright, I'm going to do my honorable mention to the line gun from the Dead Space series. The Dead Space series, as you may or may not know, you're supposed to strategically cut the enemy's limbs off, because that apparently causes trauma that causes them to die, as opposed to just trying to shoot their head. In fact, there's several creatures that get more powerful if you shoot their head off. And the line gun has always been just the very much upgraded version of the plasma cutter they were starting with. The plasma cutter can cut vertically or horizontally, which gives it versatility. The line gun can only shoot horizontally, but it does it in these huge, sweeping ways. Like if you position it correctly, you can chop the legs off several people trying to get to you. Mm. And of course, once they lose their legs, not only are they going towards you slower, but that usually means their arms are doing this to move them. So another precise shot can just chop off all their arms at once. And it's always funny because the secondary fire to this weapon puts a mine down on the ground that then explodes when it comes over. And I always thought, wait a second, why is it that a gun that creates huge plasma waves has a secondary fire mine and they both only consume one ammunition? What? But it also is really nicely shaped because it goes compact when you're carrying it around, but the moment you aim it, it unfolds these two large arms, so it's always it's fun to look at.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Aight, we're out.
Okay.
Unless you had any last words?
No, I think that about covers it. I guess we don't need that thing anymore.
Oh no, let's keep it just in case.
Yeah, just.
So what's your top 10?